Most amateur photographers spend 4 hours a week watching YouTube videos about gear that they're never going to buy, and then they're arguing in the comments about which camera brand has the better low light performance. Next, they're on dpreview.com comparing lens sharpness across 7 lenses that they don't need to buy before watching another 3 hours of YouTube videos about the location that they want to go and visit, until finally they commit to going out and shooting the next day, only to not go out because the weather isn't perfect. That is the typical amateur photographer. They never take photos, they never improve, and they never create work that they're proud of. They end up becoming that amateur photographer that we all know who has all of the expensive gear but no decent photos. Heck, they call themselves a photographer, but they only take photos twice a year, and even at those shoots, they're a complete mess because they've forgotten how to use their cameras because it's been so long since they last took the camera out of their camera bag. Now, I'm here to tell you that there is a better way for amateur photographers to improve. For me, photography became effortless when I really embraced the fact that photography is the act of taking photos. It is really that simple. If you're not taking photos, you're not doing photography, you're not a photographer. So, with all that said, what stops well-meaning amateur photographers from rapidly improving their skills by taking more images? Most photographers overcomplicate the process of photography. They worry about the camera body, the camera lenses, the camera bag, the tripod, the editing system that they use, their monitor, presets, filters, and just all that stuff doesn't really matter. Most amateur photographers think that there is a magic trick or a hack to great photography, and this hack has a price tag that they can just pay to level up their skills. Essentially, they believe that you can buy your way to photographic success. And let me tell you, after 18 months of taking photography, well, pretty seriously at this point, countless photography trips, many hours of getting coached by one of the UK's top working professional photographers, and to be quite frank and honest, almost unlimited budget to spend on gear. I run a successful company over at salesman.com, so I can afford to buy camera bodies and lenses if I choose to. Well, the conclusion is you cannot buy your way to success in the photography game. The only thing that really matters is going out there and taking more photos. More photos always means more progress. And, well, I wish this wasn't the case, as doing photography actually takes up quite a lot of time and energy that I could probably spend doing something more productive, but it is a fact, it is true. Heck, let me give you some actual real context here. I'm literally building a YouTube channel where I share what I'm learning as I progress in my own photography journey with other amateur photographers like you. Obviously, you're watching the YouTube channel right now. And I'm telling you that going out and shooting images for 30 minutes every day is going to net you much, much more progress than watching a couple of hours of videos like this one on YouTube. And I'm dead serious as I say that. And I'm throwing a ton of money and time and resources at the Photography Explained YouTube channel. It's probably the fastest growing photography channel on YouTube of all time. We've gone from 0 views to over 300,000 views in just 12 weeks. I'm putting tons of energy into this project, and still you'd be better off closing this video, stepping out your front door and going taking some pictures if you want to improve your photography skill set. But, well, you're probably not going to do that. You're probably going to finish this video and then watch the next one and the next one and the next one. Why? Because going out and actually taking nice photos seems like a complicated process. So if overcomplication is the enemy to photography success, how do we defeat it? To make a process more efficient, we must remove any steps in that process that don't help us move towards our goal. So if you're watching a video like this, then I'm assuming your goal is to improve the quality of the images that you're producing. Me too. That's my goal, right? So let's take a look at the process of taking images and let's see what we can remove from that process to simplify things so that we can go out and take more photos every single day, week, month, year. And working backwards, the process typically looks something like this. Final image, editing, capture image, choose the right settings, choose the right gear, be ready at the right moment, be at the right location. So let's tackle each one of these steps. Now, I enjoy doing landscape photography, and the most important part of taking a winning landscape photo is probably to get off your bum and go somewhere where there is the opportunity to take an interesting photo. Spending the next 3 days planning a shoot is probably not as efficient as just getting outside somewhere that you enjoy and going for a wander. So quit all the over preparation and just go and visit a location where you think you might be able to capture something. Next up, to be ready at the right moment to take the shot, we need to decide what the moment is that we're trying to capture. For me, that's likely a sunrise or a sunset. For you, it might be something else, like the animal that you want to capture and you want to shoot them when they're most active in nature. Being specific about your intentions on what you want to shoot will instantly make you way more likely to get a decent shot, because there's now boundaries for your imagination to work within. Think of it like this. Having infinite possibilities as to what you want to take photos of is hard. Now, the inverse of this, which was me a few days ago, is, well, I'm going to wait here until the light on the water becomes flat so I can take this image, and that's pretty easy. I'm in the right place at the right time. Next up, and this is a massive time sink for a lot of amateur photographers, gear. Now, the right gear for you as an amateur photographer is likely whatever gear you already have. It is that simple. Now, sure, of course, there's been massive improvements going from technology like film SLRs to these fancy Sony digital mirrorless systems over the past few decades. But none of this stuff really actually matters at all if you're not in the right location at the right time. So get off your bum, go to the place where you want to shoot, take the gear that you've already got and capture some images. Think of it like this, right? There are countless photographers who toiled away with, even more ancient camera technology, like this old Kodak here. They toiled away with all of this old, barely usable crap with soft lenses without the ease of post-processing that we have in the digital era, and they took better photographs than you or I likely ever will. If they can go and take incredible photos with all of this ancient gear, then for us right now as amateur photographers, any camera and any lens from the past decade that allows you to capture the field of view that you need for your image is probably good enough. Having a medium format Fuji GFX camera and 20 grand's worth of lenses is not going to make any spectacular photos when you're sat in your bedroom. Well, it depends who's in your bedroom with you, but that's not the kind of photography that I usually cover on this channel. So with that said, stop wasting time thinking about gear. This is probably the biggest inefficiency point for amateur photographers. Use the gear that you've got and take some photos. Now, when it comes to settings, a slightly soft photo of something epic is always going to be better than an image that is super sharp, well exposed, but it's a picture of something that's boring. So simplify your camera settings so you can get more shots fired off. Film photographers of yesteryear used what they called the sunny 16 rule, and it still applies to us digital photographers today. Basically, if it's sunny outside, then the sunny 16 rule suggests to shoot at f16 with a shutter speed similar to your film's ISO. So let's say I'm outside, I'm taking a shot, I'm getting ready to take a shot, it's sunny and I'm shooting with ISO 200 film. Then I'd use a shutter speed of 1/200th of a second with an ISO of f16, and then I'd blast away. That is it. That's all you need to basically understand for your settings. No need to overcomplicate this. If it's overcast, then maybe switch to f8, and for sunsets and sunrises, f5.6 or so. And with all that said, with modern cameras, they've got such incredible dynamic range that you can even mess this up to a certain extent and still come away with decently exposed photos. 99% of the time, it doesn't matter if there's a bit of noise in your image. Nobody really cares how blurred out the background is if you're taking a portrait. These things are subtle and they don't really matter in the grand scheme of things. So quit all the faffing around with your camera settings, stick to the basics, and just go and take more photos. Okay, so it's time to capture your image. And sure, you could probably be focus stacking or exposure blending or shooting multi-shot panoramas, and I've covered all of these processes on the channel recently. The reality is though, that a single frame of something interesting is often enough to win the world's biggest photography competitions. And so why are you trying to be fancy and overcomplicate it? The right location, the right timing, the basics of the settings, and you're ready to go. And speaking of photography competitions, if you want to win $10,000, then check out the Photography Explained Awards. $10,000 cash prize, winner takes all, transparent judging, and only 1,000 entries are going to be allowed to increase the chances for you to win. If you want to learn more, click the link in the description of this video and submit your photos today. Right, sure, taking the photo. I like the technical aspect of photography, but in the digital age, the hardest part is always going to be the artistic side of things rather than the technical side of things. The right subject, the right composition, and the right lighting. That's what we need, right? Focus on that. Which leads us on to the next step, the bottleneck that often slows the photographer's chase to more images, right? right down to a snail's pace. We are spoilt with the tools that we have to edit photos, yet many great photographers of yesteryear didn't edit their photos at all. So to create great photos, you don't have to spend a lot of time editing unless it's a skill that you really want to develop. Unless you're a journalist or you're entering your photography into competitions, it's fine to use auto settings in editing apps. It's fine to use AI tools that do most of the editing for you. And the best way to frame this up is that if you're not having fun when you're editing your photos, then you should absolutely do less editing and spend that extra time outside or in the studio, wherever you want to take your photos, taking more shots instead. If photography is a hobby for you, if you're a fellow amateur like myself, then editing should be fun. If it's not, just do less of it. Feel free to break the rules and have a little bit more fun editing as well. Even if we look back at photographers from over 100 years ago, they didn't take their editing too seriously either. Just like this unknown French artist in 1880 who had fun with their editing. And you can't even take the pros editing too seriously either if that's what you're aspiring to. Heck, this iconic image of Abraham Lincoln isn't even Lincoln. It's a politician called John Calhoun's body that they just composited Lincoln's head on top of to get that iconic shot. The point being, get off your bum, shoot the image. If you don't like editing, do the basics to finish off the photo and then move on to the final step. This is where you've got your final image. You've done it. Congratulations. Another series of photos in the bag, and absolutely, if you look back at that process that you've been through, there is absolutely something that you can learn from the experience. Going out, shooting a couple times a week, being in the right place at the right time with the gear that you already have, and using the most basic of settings is going to net you more photos over the course of the next few months than 99% of the people out there that call themselves photographers. More photos is absolutely the best pathway to better photos in the shortest amount of time. However, if you are not convinced, why not click the video that's on the screen right now and spend more time on YouTube attempting to level up your skills